to Larry's Library and another edition of the Sunday Scan. This is my weekly deal where I'm going through a read-through of a single issue series, and I'm doing ElfQuest right now. I'm going back and forth between ElfQuest and Godzilla, Marvel's Godzilla, but this week I'm looking at ElfQuest issue 2. It's right here. So we got another great cover by Wendy Pini, who does all of the interior art, the pencils and the inks, and she also writes it. Now, her husband, Richard Pini, is also listed as a writer, I guess. The way the credits were on issue 1, I had assumed that he did most of the scripting and she did the plot and all of the art. Now, it's phrased a little bit differently in that, but we'll get to that when we get to the opening page. But this cover is pretty cool. It shows them going across a terrible desert, and they're all sweating and exhausted, and they look to be almost dying. You know, a couple of them are dying, maybe. So, pretty bleak looking cover, but it's nice and bright. The colors are beautiful here. Now, getting to the opening page. And if you remember from 2 weeks ago, when I did issue 1, they are at the Hall of the Troll King, where they fled to the underground tunnels of the trolls when their forest was burned by humans, by savage humans. Nice splash page here, or rather it's a nice opening shot here, full page opening page. It's mostly in silhouette with limited color. Really, really nice work here by Wendy Pini. Now here in this credit box, which I'll put up as we go through the scans, but it says creator/writer/artist Wendy Pini, co-creator/associate editor Richard Pini. So that makes me think she did even more of the writing than maybe I gave her credit for in issue 1. But the art here is, if anything, it's even better than in issue 1, which a lot of artists get better as they go, and that's what I think is happening here with Wendy Pini. But on the page 2 here, I will scan it as well, or yeah, page 2. We get a little roll call, and they go through the names of these elves, this troop of elves, and it's really cool. The names are quite fun. We have Red Lance, Nightfall, Clearbrook, One Eye, Moonshade, Strongbow, Tree Stump, Skywise, Scouter, Dewshine, Rain Song. Yeah, just really cool names. And on page 3, I'll have to scan this one to you. So many great pages here. We have a conversation with the Troll King, because, you know, the elves have forced their way in here to this underground cavern in this network of tunnels. And we find out that the main troll that they have tied up and they've been forcing to bring them through here is the king's right-hand man, and his name is Picknose, which I thought that was pretty funny too, Picknose. And here we do learn, as I kind of guessed and surmised from the hints in issue 1, that they have had a relationship and a deal with the trolls for some time. They would bring the trolls meat and pelts and things like that, because they're great hunters, the elves are, in exchange for the trolls' ability to forge weaponry for them, steel weapons and bits of armor and things like that. So they've had an ongoing relationship with them for a long time. Because apparently the elves, at least Cutter's band of elves, these woodland elves, did not forge metal. So they relied on the trolls for that. So it's pretty cool getting some of that ironed out here, so to speak. And there's a little bit here, maybe I'll scan this page too, where there's a large rock that sits at the foot of the king. And it turns out it's magnetic. It's a lodestone. And so their metal bracers are, you know, attracted to it, and their swords and things like that. And Skywise Cutter's right-hand man, is quite attracted to this too, and quite curious about it. And they end up chipping a piece of that off. Cutter chips a bit of it off with the pommel of his sword. Maybe I'll scan that page too. And he gives a little chip of it to Skywise as a souvenir. You know. And they make a deal with the Troll King again. And the Troll King says, well, Picknose will lead you through the network of tunnels to another way out, to a golden land. It's real vague about that. Where there's lots of light that they've not dared cross because the trolls can't stand light at all. The elves aren't super fond of it, but the trolls cannot abide by sunlight. So they make that deal and they get on with it. But one thing here, and I guess because this is collected from another format completely. I mean, it's not collected in the sense of a hardcover or a trade paperback, but this is reprinted from the original black and white, but with color for the first time. And these came out in a totally different format, apparently, because if you look, there's a hand-numbered, on the page where they make a deal with the troll, there is a hand-numbered number 23 for the page number. And I'm only about 4 pages in, counting the ad page, 4 or 5 pages. So that is a remnant that's in the art, I think. And so it was, because then the next page is 24, which it's not. It's only like 9 or something, 8. So that happens sometimes with art. And I've seen that in regular, you know, Marvel comics that aren't adapted like this one is. So sometimes that happens, where the artist numbers it one way, but then the book comes out, it's, you know, it's not considering the placement of the pages and the ads and all that. So they had a long journey through the tunnels, and they finally reached the exit here at the way on the other end, and they've been going on for a long time here. So there's like 17 elves and 14 wolves, and they ride the wolves. Now there's more elves than wolves because some of them are babies or small kids that ride with them. And when they get to the exit here, and I'll have to scan this page, the light is blinding. The sunlight is blinding at the end of this tunnel. And it comes out on the side of like a cliff overlooking this vast, dry-looking desert is what it is. Just barren sand and golden sunlight that none of them are too happy about. And then the tunnel collapses behind them because it was a trap in a way. Picknose pushed some kind of release and caused the tunnel to collapse, sealing them out there at the mouth of the cave and the desert. And so now we're in the middle of the book because here's the staple pages. And the hand-drawn numbering of the page, I can't really make it out here. It looks like 26 maybe. I don't know. It only partially printed. But I will scan that page, maybe both of these pages on the center spread here. Nice, great use of silhouetting here as the camera's behind the group of elves, and you can see just this dreadful sun and this barren wasteland of a desert. So they have no choice at this point. They have to cross this desert, and hoping that they get to some mountains, and they can sort of see a little bit of mountainous region across this vast plain. They're hoping they'll reach that, and it won't be a barren desert, and maybe there'll be some trees and things. That's their hope. So they set out across this desert, and Skywise, Cutter's right-hand man, who has that lodestone chip, he's put it on a string now, and he's figured out that it will lead them. They can use it as a navigational tool, and it'll help them know which way they're going. So now they have a little navigation lodestone here. It's pretty neat. And the wolves, they're starting to starve, and they find some lizards they can eat, little tiny desert lizards, not much. And yeah, the conditions are just horrible to these elves who are used to a cool forest and cover from the sun, and they have none of that here. So it's really taken a toll. And here at one point, and now the page numbering says page 8. So But I do think these are in the right order because the story makes sense. It's just, this came out in a radically different format originally. And so we're seeing some vestigial numbering, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it is a little confusing, but the story is not. It flows pretty good. So I think they're in the right order. We've just got some odd page numbering here from maybe the original art. I'm not sure. Now, there is one bit that confused me in the story, and it's right here. I'll scan this page because the inking and the penciling is fantastic. It's beautiful stuff. But Red Lance, I believe is his name. Yeah. He's sick from all this heat, and he decides he can't go on. And he's going to stay behind in this little clump of rocks that they've kind of took shelter at. And so they're mostly traveling at night. They're waiting for the sun to go down, and then where it's cooler, and they travel at night. And he says he's going to stay behind with his mate, and they're both going to stay there, and then Cutter's going to return for him is the idea. Well, but then it never shows Cutter return for him. And then a couple pages later, it shows Red Lance traveling with him, and he's all hunkered over and sickly. So I don't know if we've lost a page somewhere, or maybe I just didn't get the plot here, but because now Red Lance and his mate are with the group. He's no longer left behind. So it's a little confusing to me there. But yeah, they're all getting sick, and they're running out of water and food, and it's bad. They even lose a couple of the wolves, die in this process. They can't make it, which makes sense. A wolf would have a hard time in the desert, I think. A wolf that was from the cooler regions and forests. So getting toward the end of this issue, they come over this hill, this sea of sand, and they find this. They reach the mountains that they could see from a distance, and they're at the edge of the mountains now. And there's cactus. There's cactus growing. And there's a little bit of vegetation. And there's more lizards. And Cutter finds out accidentally he gets pricked by one of these cactus plants, and he's upset. He's pissed, so he takes his sword out and he cuts it just in frustration. And then he finds out that it's wet inside. I will scan this page. It's pretty cool. So there's the answer to their running out of water. They cut up a bunch of these cactus and get the water out of that. And he calls them sticker plants. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, I will scan this page. It shows one of them forcing some of the water out of the cactus into the mouth of a wolf. Pretty neat. Shows some of the little kids drinking out of the inside of a cactus also. So Cutter and Skywise climb that mountain while everybody's getting them some water from the cactus. And I'll scan this page and also the very last page. It's a full page closing shot here where Cutter and Skywise climb up to the top of this little mountain, and they look over and they see a little village, and they say, it's elves like us. Who knew they would be just like us? Now, from the shot is distant enough, we can't tell as a reader if those are indeed elves, but they seem to think they are. And that's how this one ends. So they think they found another settlement of elves on the other side of this little mountain out in the desert. So we'll see how that works out. If you want to see more of this, come back in 2 weeks for more ElfQuest. 2 weeks, come back Sunday of 2 weeks from now for more ElfQuest, or next week I'll get back to Godzilla. Getting near the end of that. There's about 2 issues left of the Marvel Godzilla run I'm going through. So hope you liked that. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And like to see you next time.